All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and right here, right now, we actually have Texas hip-hop legend and original member of DJ Screw's Screwed Up Click. We got the one and only Lil O right here, live on the line, man. How are you doing this evening?
Whoa! And now I'm doing good. I'm doing great, man. Feeling better than ever. New album, new vibe, and just it's crazy just being back, being able to touch back with all the people in Canada and all over the world, and reconnecting the dots and putting them on this new wave, and reminding them about this classic wave and putting it all together, man. It's just a great time for Lil O right now.
I gotta say, man, it's definitely an honor to be able to interview you this evening, man. I grew up on your music, so it's definitely an honor, man, as an adult to actually look back on the music, but also interview the man behind it as well, man. So thank you so much in advance for a little bit of your time this evening.
I appreciate that. It's all good, bro.
But first and foremost, man, I want to take you back to the year 1997, man, where you were still in university. You actually recorded the song "Can't Stop," that actually featured vocal contributions from the one and only Destiny's Child. I was wondering if you can actually tell us the story behind this iconic debut single, and of course, what was it like just working with Destiny's Child?
Well, I always tell people it's like when you're making history, you really don't know you're making history. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I say I'm at a wonderful time in my life now, because I can look back and really analyze things from a different point of view. And I'm just thinking about what would I tell that kid back then that was out on bonds, starting school, trying to get away from it all, saying I can't stop, I'm going to make it off probation and make something out myself. And that kid that linked up with his homegirls, Beyonce, Kelly, Latavia, Latoya. Y'all know him as Destiny's Child, but it was really just, to me at the time, it was just my manager's kids. You know what I'm saying? And it was just sharing dreams, and it was a song. It was a song that was just about making it, and the girls were there, man. And we, it was like a family. Like I said, a lot of people don't know Matthew Knowles was my first manager, so they were always there when me and Matthew would be vibing. So we all became a tight knit family. So it was just natural to put them on the song. And the song just became a Screw tape classic. I still remember knocking on DJ Screw's door and giving them the rough wax, like not the official test, pressed up fancy MCA wax. I'm talking about fresh vinyl, untitled, and letting them hear it. That was my first record, and he told me he was going to put it on his tape. I thought he was lying, of course, and like 2 hours later, he called my phone saying, "Hey, it's on there right now," and the rest is history. That was my big break, and to this day it's considered a Texas classic and one of the songs that defined the Screw tape era, really, to be honest with you.
And I have to ask as well, because obviously you guys were both very, very early on in your careers, yourself and Destiny's Child. Were they actually called Destiny's Child then, or were they just finding themselves as a trio around that time?
No, they were Destiny's Child. It was Destiny's Child. When that song came out, it was Lil O and Destiny's Child. That was their first introduction, actually, to the world. And then right after that is when they dropped No, No, No.
And also as well, man, in the year '99, so just a few years later, you actually signed to the Houston-based label Gameface Entertainment. I was wondering, how did that record deal come to be for you? And of course, what was it like just working for that home-based label?
Well, it's like coming from a mate. Can't Stop came out with MCA Universal, so that was my first. It's almost like going to college and learning how the majors work. You get what I'm saying? So people got to understand that it's not like now where everybody had a deal from the South and it's normal. Back then it was an anomaly. You get what I'm saying? So I was able to learn the game on a major level very young. Unfortunately, the deal didn't work out, because like I said, they didn't really know how to push Southern music back then. It was a new thing. So getting with Gameface after people had got the word out that I was no longer with Universal, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, the Rockefeller guys were a lot of inspiration to us, Master P, Jay Prince, of, hey, we can do it ourselves. So when the homies from Gameface approached me, it was my first introduction to the indie game. You get what I'm saying? It was like getting a master's degree. And, already having the name from the success of Can't Stop and Screw behind me, it was really an incredible feeling, man, because the independence of doing what you want, when you want, making all the money coming to yourself, people not telling you when to release stuff, how you can do things, what type of music you can make. It was just, it was it was the Wild West, the great American hustle, selling CDs out the trunk and lines being down the street, just to support your music. It was a great feeling, man.
And I gotta say as well, it must have been such a just a breath of fresh air, man. Because there was a lot of major labels out there that really tried to mold an individual into their own. I'm pretty sure you definitely know what I mean. So definitely, Gameface giving you that creative control, man, must have been a phenomenal feeling for an artist.
Absolutely, and it also taught me the indie game that it's like people always understand how do I do all the things so well that I do now on my own. It's kind of like I feel like I'm versed in the best of both worlds. I had two major deals. Of course, the first one was Universal. Then I went indie for a while, learned the indie game, the ins and outs of it, the pluses and minuses. Then, of course, with the success of Back, Give Me 50 Feet, we decided to take another deal again, and that was with Atlantic. And it was all growth, and it gives you all the game you need. That's just perfect now, especially in the streaming era. It's just it's a good time because now I feel like a lot of the gatekeepers are dead. So it's like if you know the major game, you know the indie game. It's like nothing can stop you now with streaming and social media, and so knowledge is a powerful thing to have now that people can't really control what's heard and what's not heard. You know what I'm saying?
And also a few moments ago when we were actually on the topic of whatnot on the Destiny's Child track, I Can't Stop, you actually mentioned that DJ Screw actually put that on the tape. But as we already know, you were actually an original member of his group, the Screwed Up Clique. I was wondering, how did you guys actually form that group? Like, how did you actually become an original member of his crew? Because you guys had such a phenomenal roster.
That's literally how I met Screw. It's like people got to remember at the time he was one of the biggest DJs, if not the biggest DJ in the city. And this was before the Screwed Up record store. He was literally selling tapes out of his house, like a dope house. It'd be like a line long. The neighbors thought he was selling drugs. That's how the lines would be. That's how long the lines would be. So when I touched up the press at Can't Stop, I literally just knocked on his door and was like, "Hey, this little O from the West, and you know the story of giving him Can't Stop," and he heard it and put it on his tape. And the response was so crazy, and he loved the song so much, he had called me like, "Hey, you need to start coming around and rapping on these tapes." You know what I'm saying? And as he invited me over and I started rapping on some of these tapes, that's when I'd meet other members of the clique that would always be hanging out at Screw's house, and the Hawks, the Pats, the Keys, and all the guys that became fans, and we formed a brotherhood. Really, it was all formed around Screw, and that's how we made the Screwed Up Clique, to be honest with you.
And also as well, in the year 2001, you actually released the iconic album, and my personal favorite of yours, The Fat Rat with the Cheese, man, that actually ultimately sold 75,000 units. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about this iconic album, man, because 75,000 units is absolutely phenomenal, especially for a debut album on an independent label.
Absolutely. To me, I actually think, and this is I feel it's one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. A lot of people will tell you that too. If you think of one of the most iconic albums that represent Texas hip hop, that's definitely one of the albums that's gonna come up. And that was my first, album where, like, I always had underground success, and a following, but I feel like that was my first big introduction to superstardom, because you had the smash record Back, Give Me 50 Feet that smashed the world and got picked up by Atlantic, but so many other street classics that became huge. The We Ain't Broke No More with Slim Thug, the Players Get Chose, just produced a lot of amazing records that still last today. And if you ever want a representation of what Texas hip hop sounded like in that time, and that just lasted the test of time, that's one of the albums that it's almost like the Nas-Illmatics, the Reasonable Doubts, the Riding Dirties. It signifies an era and the best of what Texas had to offer at the time.
And I gotta say, one of my favorite songs off that record is actually We Ain't Broke No More. I don't know, it's always one of my favorite joints when I do listen to that particular project.
It just feels good, man. It's crazy because it's like I take so much pride in. Now I can see that these songs have lasted the test of time. You get what I'm saying? It's like when I still perform in concert and We Ain't Broke No More comes on, and you see the nostalgia in people's faces and the excitement and how good it still reacts after all these years. It's just crazy to me because it's good. It's good to have the finances and all the perks that come with being a successful artist. But, when you've done it for so long, you start to appreciate other things more. Like, wow, like after all these years, people still love this song and jam that song. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's a great feeling, man.
And also, as well, on that album, you actually collaborated with fellow Screwed Up Click member, the late great Big Hawk, on the song Back Back. For the listeners that might not know very much about Big Hawk, I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about him, and of course, what was it like just working with him in the studio?
Hawk was one of my biggest supporters. It was part of my cheer system. Like, a lot of people, don't know, Big Hawk was a real little old fan. He was one of the guys that made me feel like I could really be a superstar and have what it takes. For those that don't know, Hawk is another underground legend out of Texas, an incredible MC and another member of the Scooter Clique that passed away from an untimely death. He was murdered. He's very loved throughout the South, he's a Texas icon, and he has a lot of classic records for those that don't know. And he's also, we were considered my tag team partner, kind of like how you would have a Raekwon and Ghostface. And people always knew when those guys got together, it was a special chemistry. Well, Hawk was that for me. That's why we have so many classic records together, like Bad Bad, Players Get Chose, They Scared. And, he was just, a lot of people don't know my trademark Whoa comes from Hawk, because one time I was rapping on his album and I was laying my verse and I didn't put Whoa on there because I just thought, it didn't need it. And when I didn't put it on there, he got mad, and I was like, I don't think it needs it. And he was like, oh, always do the Whoa. That's your trademark. And ever since then, I always did it. And to this day, even when I tweet, post, people always ask why I always put Whoa. That's kind of the way I remember my best friend and honor him and make sure I stay focused, because he'd always say, oh, stay focused. You got what it takes. So that's where the Whoa comes from. And working with Hawk is a pleasure and, just a great time, man. I really hate he's not here to not only enjoy his success, but to see my growth and see my success. And I just hope he's proud of me.
I still remember back in the day actually getting my hands on his studio album, Under Hawk's Wings, man. I gotta say, such a phenomenal project, man. I absolutely loved it.
Man, I love that album too. We got that classic on there as well, That's Me, which is actually one of my favorite records too.
And I did like the one you did as well, $1 Million Block as well. That's another great joint you guys did together.
I love that one as well, man. I just love that album in general, man. R.I.P. Hawk, we miss you.
And also, as well, as you mentioned a few moments ago about the Atlantic Records deal, I actually read that song Back Back actually led to that record deal. If you don't mind me asking, what ultimately made you leave Atlantic Records?
It was a mix. It was a mixture of a couple of things. Creative control, creative ideas. It's like I always tell people, Texas fought hard to be recognized as a viable music that could really smash the masses. So a lot of times, as you know, when you sign to a major, the music that you feel is great, they might not understand, because at the time, like I said, this is a different time. That all the A&Rs literally from that time are from L.A. or New York. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times they didn't understand the Texas vibe and Texas music. So it's like, one thing I feel the reason why I'm still here is I never wanted to compromise myself or make something I didn't believe in. And so it's more creative differences, but it's still our love. Shout out to Atlantic, Mike Kieran, Craig Cowman, who they're all legendary guys in the music industry, and they gave me a great shot and a great opportunity, and we made history together. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity, you know. But I feel the reason why I'm still here is because I've stayed true to myself and the music I want to make.
And also, jumping ahead in the timeline a little bit, on November 19th of 2021, you actually released the phenomenal 13-track album titled Greatest of All Players. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this recently released project, and of course, where can we actually buy or stream ourselves a copy today?
Man, I'm so excited about this, my new album, The Greatest of All Players. I mean, if you're a real Lil O fan, you already know the incredible catalog of work, you know, the Fat Rap with the Cheese, Food on the Table, all the legendary mixtapes, Jealous Got Me Strapped. So I had big shoes to fill, and I always said I'm not going to release an album if it can't match the standards of all my other classic albums. And I just think I knocked it out the park with this brand new album, The Greatest of All Players. It's just a star-studded project. It's incredible music. It has the nostalgia that we all miss, but it's still very now as well. You know, it's already got produced a big smash hit right now that's going crazy called Date Night, but I don't think people really understand how big this album is growing. You know, the next single with me and Bun B, Trill, it's an amazing record. It's just full of big, big records. I think people are actually shocked. What I'm getting right now is, after all these years, how you still this sharp, you know. And any Lil O fan, if you're a fan of down south music, if you're a fan of Texas music, if you're just a fan of good music, man, and SUC, this brand new Lil O Greatest of All Players is a Picasso. It's available on all streaming platforms. Anywhere that streams music, you can get it. And this is one of those projects where I'm just glad to share with the world. I'm that proud of it. It's a dope ass album, man. I ain't lying. And make sure you check out all the videos. They're real dope. The Date Night video is out. Another video, Bossed Up, High Siding, T Lee. It's just really doing big things right now, and I'm proud of it. Real talk.
And I have to ask as well, because I do know a lot of the Canadian listeners always love me asking if there's any hard copies available, man. Because I do know there's a lot of listeners out there that do still love that compact disc format.
As of this time, no, but it is coming soon. We're putting together a special gift pack, something more personal for the fans. You know, a T-shirt, hoodie, maybe something signed. Well, you know, I know for all the fans, you know, because I come up out of great tape here. I know a lot of my fans want physical copies, so I just don't want to send an album. I want to send them something more special, because we even took time with the artwork for The Greatest of All Players. If you just look at it, it's just a dope ass poster, man. It's just a big vibe all together. So follow me on all my social media, SUCLIO, SUCLILO, and I'm always pretty current on it. So I'm gonna update fans when that hard copy pack is available.
And also, as well, immediately following this broadcast, I'm actually going to be playing your single Date Night featuring Eddie Coke. For the listeners that might not have had the opportunity to hear this song, what can they expect from it when I play it right here on the FM dial momentarily?
A good vibe, man. We're restoring the vibe, man. It's just we're restoring just the when music used to be, you know, that feeling of when it's warm. It's a nostalgia, man. You know, it's time to restore the vibe. I mean, hip hop is a lot of different places right now, and I just felt we had to remind people that hip hop was also about having a good time. And in Texas, we're all about being players as well. So the minute you hear, you're just gonna want to feel good. You probably want to go out on the day. You probably just gonna want to chill with your girl and party with your girl, and just have a good time, and that's what it's about. But the album in general. It's, you know, my albums, I feel like, have always been well-rounded. They're everywhere. They touch on a lot of subjects. So this is just the one where I wanted to people to be able to vibe to and just feel good music, man. So check it out. Brand new single, Date Night, biggest indie record in Texas right now. But the album in general, The Greatest of All Players, man, is Texas music at its finest. Real talk.
And before we part ways, Little Lo, if you don't mind me asking, man, if you can, drop your social media handles. That way our listeners can pull out their phones and follow you all across the board. That way they can stay up to date on everything Little O and everything in the future as well.
Everything is SUCLIO. Lil O. That's SUCLILO. That's my Instagram. That's Twitter. That's TikTok. That's Facebook. That's Snapchat. Everything is SUCLILO. You know, tap in with me. I'm always on there updating my fans with what I got going on. Make sure you follow me on YouTube, Fat Rat TV, FATRAT TV. That's FATRAT TV. And that's all my latest videos is on there. I'm inviting everybody to check out all my latest videos off this brand new album, The Greatest of All Players. And if you're new to it, man, just check out the whole catalog, man. If you're a fan of down south rap, Texas music, it's considered one of the greatest catalogs of in time. That's just to be real. The Lil O catalog is one of reverence, man. So tap in if you're new to the movement, and welcome to the club, man.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Lil O, thank you so much, man, for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening and sliding into the 97.7 FM dial, man. I've been a fan for a long time, man, so it was just an honor to be able to converse with you and chop it up about this brand new record and your past accomplishments as well, man. Thank you so much, and definitely have yourself a wonderful weekend, man. Hopefully down the line, we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to get out to Canada to perform for all my fans out there. Y'all stay down, stay blessed. Check out the new album, Greatest of All Players. I'll see y'all soon, man. Thanks for having me again.
You're most certainly welcome, man. Thank you so much, Lil O. Have yourself a great night.
All right, now.